Hello, everyone.
Yo, yo. What is happening, everybody, and welcome to another live episode of Splintered Spirits.
Splintered Spirits, the podcast where my nephew John Santa Paranormal, and I deep dive into the mysteries of the paranormal as we try to answer the question, what are spirits? Anything, do we figure it out yet, John? Do we know what spirits are yet?
No, we have not yet figured it out, but I do have some ideas. Some theories, and, keeping up with quantum physics and quantum mechanics and all that fun stuff,
Oh, yeah,
seeing
you've
if
been
any
reading some
new.
books?
Oh, dude, I've been.
taking some classes.
Yeah, no, it's one of my. It's always been one of my hobbies. That and anthropology and a couple other things that I always say up and up with. And yeah, no, it's wild. It's wild, and we're gonna
All right,
dive
but
into
let
it.
me ask you a serious question. We do have a guest coming today, and
Yeah.
as soon as they join us, I will tell you all about them. It's but when you're looking at all of your documentation, what lines can you draw to connect these dots when you start thinking about your quantum theories of these things? You understand that question? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And the
How does it
line,
support or
yeah, no,
go against your
it
theory?
definitely supports. It definitely supports because it seems the common thread, whether something is asking for help, something is talking about a situation, something is talking to me directly, or something is talking about a situation, or they're dealing with each other. The common thread is always that it is one singular mind from their perspective.
What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
So think about it like this: if you were to take a, this is gonna get really crazy, but it's the only way for me really
Dude,
to describe it.
that's the only
Let's
way we know how to
Yeah,
do it here
do
at
it.
Splintered
That's it.
Spirits is to
So
get crazy.
I know I wish I had my whiteboard. I'm about to start busting it out.
Let's go, dude.
Yeah. So
LFG.
so imagine you took a man from the 1400s, okay,
Yeah.
and you granted him the ability to live that entire time up until now, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're about to take away this ability from him to live, but you want to hear before he dies, you want to hear everything about him.
Okay.
Okay, everything
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
experienced, everything. You're going to get an account of history, correct, as he lived from one singular perspective, his. And that's
Okay.
it. So it doesn't matter what was, let's say he was from England, okay, or Italy. It doesn't even make a difference, or Africa or wherever. You're going to get his singular perspective on the 600 plus years that followed, and he's not going to be able to tell you anything outside of his perspective.
Okay.
Okay, so it's the same thing with spirits. It's literally the same thing with spirits. Whether they learn something new or they're speaking about, what they're going through, it's always from that singular perspective. And people lose sight of that when dealing with spirits.
So, and how does that knowing that it's one perspective, what does that tell you from a longer haul on a
So,
bigger
so,
picture?
so the longer haul, bigger picture, tells me that I'm dealing with these individuals individually, if you will, right?
Okay.
You get what I mean by that?
Yes.
Like, it's not. So if I turn on the spirit box, I start talking to a spirit. I'm not going to turn around and get, answers to something that happened, hundreds and hundreds of miles away from the spirit. Okay, now maybe in the next 200 years, when the ghost hunters and investigators and enthusiasts are talking to spirits in 200-300 years, they'll be able to say, "Oh yeah, I remember the World Trade Center," even though they're all the way in France. You get what I'm saying? Because
Okay.
it's
I'm
a
starting to.
different, yes, it's a
Mm.
different type of person. It's always that one perspective, and it's really wild, and you really start to see it. And it's almost like they don't exist outside of that perspective unless you bring them into it. And that's when, for example, like the spirits are talking about the ranking on TikTok, or they mention a gift that gets dropped, or even more simple, they bring up somebody in the chat.
Speaking of the chat, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone on TikTok and YT and wherever you may be watching or listening to Splintered Spirits. If you are on Santa Paranormal, by all means, hop over to Splintered Spirits and give it a subscribe, give it a like, and give it a share. Can you give me a practical example of everything you're talking about, like a specific thing that you have listened to that said that's why this is what I think it is?
Yeah. So a great example of this is Anne over at the pre-war burial ground.
Okay.
It didn't take Anne long to learn that I was on this strange thing that was allowing me to communicate with the tons of other people. It didn't take her long to realize that. In fact, she was even able to realize, hey, I can't talk to John right now because he's not hearing me, but I can talk to the people and respond to what the people are. It's weird. And another example of that is Edward. When Edward would start flipping out on people for sending gifts, like he was able, through his perspective, he was able to go, wait a minute, what the hell's going on here? I don't want this fool making money. Stop sending him gifts. He was able to tell. He was able to figure it all out.
Now, to counter your own argument, what would they be saying that would then make you think that that's not what's happening? What would be an example of something they could say that would make you think otherwise?
So those are, and what's funny is it does happen, but on a different level. Like one time, I came across a pair of time travelers. I shit you not. They claim to be time travelers, and they claim to have gotten stuck and then died.
Okay.
Which completely, that's if you're time traveling, yeah, sure, it's your singular perspective, but now you have a linear, a not so linear shot of seeing everything. If they're saying that means they can pick where they wanted to go, which is a different, example, but that's so few and far between. I think it's only happened once to me. I think maybe there's
Okay.
someone in the chat that's like, no, John, it happened this time too, and I just don't remember.
Some of your librarians that
Yeah,
have gone through your stuff.
I've got them, and
Oh, yeah,
without
for
them,
sure.
my stroke brain ass wouldn't be able to figure out anything.
It's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. All right. Well, and then so this is what you've been doing. You've been going through. You're literally now going through a lot of your lives and the old videos,
Yes.
and you are sort of categorizing them
Yes.
and grouping them together to see connections,
Yep.
messaging, progression, regression, just sort of everything.
Everything. Themes. Like think about all the spirits that hit on me and asked for sex, right?
Sure.
I mean, it's crazy, and sometimes they're crude about it. Sometimes they don't care. They will sound horrible about it, and why not? They're dead. Boredom.
Thank you for those gifts, guys. That's kind of you.
Boredom is a big part of it.
Boredom. I mean, boredom
Spirits are bored. Yeah, spirits are bored. Why are they bored? Why do they keep saying they're bored? What would lead them to be like, oh, I'm bored? It's wild, and what's crazy about that too is like you can hear them talking about being bored, whether it's a static stream.
Mhm.
Like if I were to fire up the spirit boxes and walk away from here and we just left and we left them running, we'll hear the spirits talk about how they're bored. You'll hear them all the time, even at Seventh, any location. It's like, wait a minute, why are you bored? What's your reality like that, you're so damn bored?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Man, and it also I don't know, I kind of would find it a little offensive because it's like, what? You guys got to be bored to talk to me? Why can't you just I don't have the personality to
that's one of my
bring
things
you in on this?
Yeah, when a spirit says they're bored, I'm like, all right, spirit, if you're bored, then talk to me. Let's have a conversation.
Right.
Try to talk to me. That's what I try to tell them.
Someone's asking, have you ever used other things other than apps?
Yes.
They love your show. Lady Calamare.
Yes.
Wants to know.
Yes.
But we're predominantly a ghost app guy.
So 100%. And the reason why is because there is nothing easier and simpler than firing it up on a device.
Right.
Okay,
Especially when you're
just
walking and moving and
exactly. It's just so much easier to do. I've done it all, especially back in the day with EVPs and using different things. A lot of people want me to bring EVPs into it and also run EVPs, but that's when I got to remind them, hey, listen, I'm documenting. I am not ghost hunting. However, one of the big changes that's coming up for Santa Paranormal, and I'm hoping to have this up and running by December, is the actual investigation process of the tower while I'm documenting. I'm creating essentially a language model, very rudimentary, that all it's going to do is be an investigator. And I looked into it. I actually got off live last night early because I was sitting there and it's just in the back of my head, and I'm like, I have to make this. I have to plan this out and make it. So
all right. I want to hear more about this, and I think that's going to be easy for you to put even a digital recording device in there, and then you can record and follow up and see if you hear things that you don't hear and all that stuff. But our guest is in
ready?
the lobby.
Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a wonderful guest. Very fun. Goes by the name of Spooky Scoundrel. Spooky's got over 400,000 followers on TikTok. They're a paranormal investigator and a ghost tour guide based in Toronto. I want to hear about some Canadian ghosts. I wonder if they're nicer there, because everybody in Canada's nice. So I just want to see if the ghosts are even nicer. Spooky has been exploring the supernatural since 2005 and began leading public paranormal investigations in 2021. They teach people how to talk to ghosts. Specializing in historic and heritage hauntings, they bring history to life through the spirits, all with a uniquely level-headed, goofy, and curious approach. I've been watching a lot of Spooky's TikToks, and I find it very funny because, I have an affinity for more lighthearted, ghost talk as opposed to the guru, that kind of thing. Spooky's always ready to debunk when possible, make the paranormal less scary, more accessible, and a whole lot more fun. Let us bring in Spooky Scoundrel right now so that the people can meet them. Spooky, welcome.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Hello.
And welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. This is so exciting.
Oh, good. Is it? Wow, that's
cool. I love talking about ghosts. I can't get enough of it. So
now, what is it? Okay, I want to know first off, Spooky, what happened that sparked your interest? What made you get into ghosts?
That's a really good question. I feel like I've just been super into ghosts my entire life. When other people were playing with toys and like going outside, I was reading about aliens and ghosts. I would ask everywhere that I would go to if they were haunted. Just a fascination ever since I can remember. But I also went to a haunted high school, and that's kind of when I really started actively investigating because I had a place to go to.
But does that mean that you saw something there? Like that you had an experience that was okay, everything I loved is now it's happening. I'm seeing it.
Yeah, pretty much. I worked in the auditorium a lot. I was on stage crew for a lot of our shows that we've put on. And that meant that I was always one of the first ones in and last ones out. So we were there alone a lot, and a lot of really strange things happened. It was a very well-known spirit. His name was Jamie. He was a former custodian. And he would mess with the lights all the time. We would hear the piano play by itself when no one was even near it. The fire curtain would come down by itself, even though the only way it could even be triggered would be if someone like broke that little box and pulled down the actual alarm. So yeah, a lot of different things happened.
That sounds like a terrible place to go to high school, to be honest with you, but it's just like,
I don't know. It was the best years of my life.
You love it. Now, Spooky, you don't consider yourself like a medium or anything. No. This is just a love of yours, and you investigate and you got into. So did you start reading up? How did you learn how to become an investigator?
The first year was just figuring it out, really trying things. I had always kind of gotten in my head that I was going to be a paranormal investigator one day. So I had studied parapsychology just like on my own time. By that point, I was already a member of the Toronto Ghost and Hauntings Research Society here in my city as well. And then
Say that again. What is that?
Oh, sorry, the Toronto Ghosts and Hauntings Research Society.
Okay. Okay.
Very fun online database, I guess, of all of the different hauntings in Toronto and Ontario. And then Ghost Hunters in 2004 was kind of the big one, the TV show. I was like, oh man, there's actual people out there doing this.
Sure. Jason Hollis has a lot of babies, I think.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of babies.
He's got an entire generation.
Yeah, for sure. That's okay. Yeah, it made it very okay. Like the everyman kind of guy, the plumber, and then it's like they're out there doing it and
yeah, they weren't like weird by day. I mean, they probably are weird by day. We all are, right? But yeah, they were just average people. And then, they had jobs. And so it kind of showed you like, oh, okay, so this is, a hobby that people really enjoy. Even
when I worked at Discovery at the time, I know that was a sci-fi show. When I worked at Discovery, the name we would have for those types of people that weren't, that had these incredible hobbies, we called them passionate obsessives, right? We always look for like, who's the passionate obsessive? They didn't have to be learned or have 17 degrees behind them on their wall. They just had to know an incredible amount of knowledge of that stuff,
Absolutely.
Like there's a guy, this is neither here nor there, but it's the example I used to use. It was one of these actors, he was on Lost and he was one of the hobbits, and I forget his name and I'm blanking on his name. But his parents were what are people who study bugs? Is it entomologists? This guy can tell you everything about a bug down to like, how there's like 8 classes or something, could go down all the way, like any bug. He's obsessed. He loves it because but he didn't study it. He's a good actor, right? He's a working actor. That's not his study, but he is a passionate obsessive about this. And that's what I find so now, is this what you do full time?
No.
What's your day job?
My day job is doing online customer service support for government login services.
Oh my God.
So really super the opposite of ghost hunting.
Right. That is. So when do you but you give tours?
Yes. So I consider that kind of a part-time gig. I do that in the evenings, ghost tour guide. At this point, I've been doing it for over 10 years, so it's honestly just fun. I sometimes forget it's a job for me. I just really enjoy telling stories and talking to people. Is
this for our company or is this something you started? Because you sort of investigated.
Yeah, I wish I'd started it because it's such a fun place to work for. But it's called The Haunted Walk. We operate in 3 different cities in Canada, Toronto, Kingston, and Ottawa. They've been around for, I think, 30 years this year. So pretty well established, like tourism, but showing the darker side.
Got it. Have you ever been absolutely freaked out yourself? I've seen some of your videos where you sort of see something that wigs you out, but what happens? How do you do that? And if you have a bunch of people with you, what do you do?
That's actually one of the hardest things, I think, is when you have like 20 people with you who are expecting you to be this really calm storyteller, who's leading them through this place that you're very familiar with, and then something happens and you have to not only keep yourself calm but also keep them calm. And that's one of the harder things to do. I think at this point in my career, I've just been doing it for so long and I'm so excited by the prospect of activity that I look forward to it every time I go to work. So I get like giggly more than anything. I get really excitable and I try to bring my groups in with me into that feeling, to try to scary is fun and it's okay to be afraid a little bit, but I think it's more exciting when you're really curious and really passionate really about it.
Where's your favorite places to go?
Definitely the Pioneer Village that I often do all my tours at. It's just so contained in such a big city. It feels very quiet. It feels very calm. And then you've got all these wild hauntings. Like every building is haunted by a different ghost with different stories.
Why? Give us some history here.
Oh man. Okay.
Give us your Toronto tour. Give us the quick version of what is happening in this place that these ghosts like hanging out in this village.
So I think it's a museum by day. And then we do like our darker stuff at night. I say darker, but it's, it's ghosts.
Right.
And it's a collection of buildings from around Ontario, our province. That we're all from about the 1940s to 1840s to about 1890s. And they all showcase different things. So like there's a general store, there's a tinsmith, there's people's houses, there's a hotel. So the buildings had a history before they came to the village in the 1960s. And I think that's maybe why they're so haunted, is they're places that were likely haunted before they arrived. And then their new location has just allowed the haunting to thrive, especially with us going in and trying to talk to them all the time.
So when you say that it's allowed them to thrive, what does that mean?
It's a reenacting village. So they actively pretend like it's 1867. So they're in like the costumes, they churn butter, they do farming, and all of that stuff. And I think that has this way of just staying like lightly in tune with the history of the building and the ghost stories that might have happened there.
And you think that keeps them?
I do.
All right. Well, then that leads to the question I like to ask all our guests, because it's perfect. If you think that staying in the time period somehow energizes them or keeps them there or more active, what is it, Spooky? What do you think spirits are?
That is like the hardest question ever.
Well, that's what we're all doing here. What are we doing here?
That's what I mean, it's
we're trying to figure it out. But what do you think they are that keeps you going? What is it? It doesn't matter if you have to have some idea of what you think it is that you're doing.
Yeah, I absolutely do, and I think we could get into the really weird parts of it.
Let's do it. But first, tell me what it is. Like, what is that thing?
All right. So, I think it's a combination of really long-lasting emotion or like emotional energy, in a sense. So that's you see a lot of places where there was certain kinds of specific attachments, whether it was a home that somebody cared about deeply, or somewhere there was a traumatic incident that let out that kind of energy. I think that places kind of contain that. They hold on to that. And then the other side of it is I'm not actually sure that ghosts are always dead people. I think sometimes we have this psychological ability to create our own ghosts and interact with them. There are experiments that have been done and continue to be done about this.
That's like the Phillips experiment.
I was about to say, I'm from the city that happened in, so it's one of my favorite places.
That's like a
things to talk about.
It's very famous, sort of.
Absolutely, right. And they did it right. They were able to essentially talk to a ghost they had created. So I think when we know something about a place, a location, and we go in with that intention, we are partially responsible for that haunting.
Well, so I'm going to spit back what you just said in a different way.
Yeah, it was long-winded.
No, because it speaks, John, I think it speaks a lot to, it's very similar to say, because one, you say emotion. Now, when I hear emotion, that's clearly in the mind. That's how, whatever it is, that's a consciousness. We don't really know how the mind works. And then you say it's emotion and our energy. Well, we do have energy. And, look, John's theory is that spirits are memories attached to the energy and that is released because it has to go somewhere when people pass. So you're very similar, have a very similar philosophy on what spirits are. That's not, look, some people come out and they think it's a soul. They think it's, it's more religious, like we got dipped by God or something. And then it's like, whatever that is. Right. And then, but that's, more power to. I don't know if they're right yet. I mean, I really don't want to know just yet that answer.
The real question is what kind of dip we talking about?
Yeah, right.
Are we talking about some good dip that my wife is making, or are we talking about the dip going back to Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I
don't know. Oh, do we lose Spook? Oh, there you are.
No, yeah, she does.
So there's that. I think very similar philosophies on what spirits are in that respect. And I think that now the other thing you were talking about, it's not, is it manifestations by people or not? I spoke to there's certain theories on like the difference between spirits or apparitions versus hauntings, where like that energy, we can release that energy at any time, and it becomes an imprint there, which it's not. It's just a recording, right? It just is the same thing. Have you ever experienced something that just it's repetitive, as
Yes.
opposed to, like it's always gonna happen. Like, up, it's 3 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock. This ghost is gonna use the bathroom.
Yes.
It's
Yeah, I've definitely experienced a number of those kinds of hauntings, residual hauntings. One of the coolest ones I think I've ever experienced was one that no one even died. And that one is hard to explain to people that it was a haunting, but the energy that was left behind was from survival. It was from this moment of pure joy. These prisoners escaped this fort and they left with their lives. They were never apprehended again. Um, and one night I was there and I heard the men shouting, and it was this unbridled like joy, this literally shouting that you survived something and made it out alive. Um, but they didn't die. It wasn't a dead person or a ghost necessarily.
right. It was just a
Spooky,
moment.
spooky. How long ago was that? Are they like
Mm.
they escaped? What do you mean by that? Like they didn't die on the property? They died like elsewhere, or are they
M-
still alive?
Much later. This happened in the 1840s.
Oh, okay, so they're
Yeah.
dead now, though.
It's at an
They're
old
dead now, though.
fort.
Yeah.
Absolutely dead now. Yes. So that begs the question, the haunting that I experienced, was it truly that imprint of that joyous moment, or did after they passed come back to the moment of the most joy they ever had? Who knows?
Well, it's like the episode. It's like when I talked to Professor Auerbach, like Lloyd Auerbach, and he was telling me about the 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 imprint of a couple having sex in this person's house, but they were still alive. He went and found the previous owners and said they're experiencing something at this time every night, and it was like the couple freaked out because they had a little thing that they like to do every night at that time, and they left a spectral sex tape in their old apartment. So it's
That's
like,
wild.
that sort of that sort of thing, that happens. Um, but yeah, but anyway, right. That could have been such a big moment, big joyous moment, that the energy of the group even could have, maybe that is something to that there. I lean towards this theory more than most. I mean, I know I'm biased because of him, but it's still starting to feel from others. Energy is always a thing. That memory and consciousness is always a thing, and we don't know what those answers are, right? I mean, it just seems to fall a lot into that space. Um, how long have you been on TikTok, Spooky? How long have you been?
2021, I think, is when I started.
So, like a lot of people,
Like
like
a lot of
right
people, the
around, right,
pandemic, we were
right,
Yeah.
bored.
right.
Yeah, and it was by accident. I never expected to do anything like what I do now.
Well, I love finding that, like, and building like a paranormal community and on TikTok, and it is a big social, and you have a hell of a following, which is really quite something. And I believe it's because of the fun and the joy that you bring to it. And what do you notice about your community? Do you do lives, or do you just drop videos, or how did you build this, and what kind of reactions are you getting from people from what you deliver?
I'll admit I'm not as on it as I feel like I probably should be, especially with people actually interested in what you're doing. It all happened by accident. I had one video go mega viral overnight, millions of views overnight, and that just started this kind of idea in my mind, like, oh wow, people actually want to hear about this. I thought it was just me in my tiny weird corner of the universe. And so it's mostly just videos. I do want to, work on, on getting better, but with it. What I have noticed though, and what is really, really impactful for me, is people messaging me, whether by email or in DMs, saying things like I've changed their entire perspective. Um, just the idea that I can shift someone from being absolutely terrified of something they're experiencing, even, or have experienced, and make it something more gentle for them or empowering in some way, that will never get old, I don't think.
That's
Hey,
wild, right? That's
Spooky.
great.
What is your what like? What's the first thing that comes to mind when I ask you your favorite tour? because you said you do these tours, nightly and whatnot. So, you're doing it over and over at the same spots and whatnot. What is your most favorite? Not scary, not, like great, like just your favorite overall thing that's happened while giving one of these awesome tours.
Oh, I love that question. I have so many that are so fun.
Okay.
I don't think I'll ever be able to beat Halloween night. I believe it was 2 years ago. Um, and part of I think why the story is so fun to me is that it happened on Halloween night. Like that's just so cliche, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You tell that story to somebody else and they're like, "Oh, pff, sure, it happened on Halloween."
Halloween. Yeah.
But it was a series of events that had happened. We went to do one of my favorite experiments, the Estes method. And as
We're
we
going to talk about
started,
that with you in a second. I
yeah,
told you we were,
I'm
but
excited.
let's go.
As we got into the session, this woman in my group had a nosebleed immediately. And this is like almost 2 hours into our night. So, it was weird to happen at this specific time. Her nose starts bleeding. The receiver starts getting really interesting stuff. Someone else in the group starts hearing footsteps above us on the first floor of this building. We go look. We don't see or hear anything. There's no one there. Can't explain it. Come back down. We hear it again. This time it's running, like actively running footsteps. So we run back upstairs and we're standing in this hallway watching an empty hallway, and hearing footsteps run towards us, turn around, run back towards the door, turn around, come back towards us, like a back and forth. And I cannot explain that. We'll never be able to explain that. I had 4 different people with me witnessing it, as well as people downstairs doing other things. Eventually I was like, we have to end our night. I don't know what to do. Like it's still going. So we said our goodbyes. We went downstairs. I pulled the receiver out of the Estes method and the nosebleed in the group stopped. The minute I pulled someone out.
First of all, if I had heard footsteps, you would have one of those sets of footsteps running would have been my own. We could have narrowed it down. Like at
Yeah.
least one is this guy who's
He's like out the door.
out the door, straight out the door. All right. I mean, that is. All right, that's interesting. Now, was the nosebleeder the person with the blindfold on in the head? No, this
No.
is just a witness.
Yeah, just someone else in the group.
All right. Listen, let's get into the Estes method for 2 minutes because I do see that in
Yeah.
your feed a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And here is the thing, and I'm not goofing on it. Maybe I am a little, but it's like
Please.
it's mainly because I don't understand it, and I
Sure.
want people to explain it because it's all right. You got the headphones on, you got the blinders on. You're supposed to be sound and sight deprivated from the rest. It's plugged into the spirit box, right?
Yeah,
I got this so
into
far. Okay,
one of
I got
these
one of
guys.
those. You
Yeah.
plug it in there. Now, then the other person asks the question, and this person the person who's covered up can't hear anything, correct?
Correct.
Can't hear you anyway, but then should just start talking when it hears it.
Yeah.
Why do I want to hear from that person and not hear from? Why am I adding a middleman? Why
Yeah.
do I not want to just hear from the ghost? Why do we do it?
Really
Why do you
wonderful
think we do it?
question. Super question. Great question. I think that there's too much of an outsider bias that happens. When the person listening for the answer is also participating in the asking of the questions, you psychologically will anticipate an answer. If I ask the ghost, what's your favorite color? The whole group, they're listening to hear a color on the spirit box if we're listening out loud. So by having that one person who cannot hear the questions and all they're doing is saying what they're hearing in the radio or the spirit box, when you get that answer that lines up, you know that it's maybe more than coincidence because it's answering your question.
God damn it, John! That might be the best answer I've heard for that question.
100% because I can back up. I
I've
can
got
back
more.
It
up
avoids
everything.
pareidolia,
I can back. So on my
right?
stream,
That's what you're fighting.
What they're fighting is audio pareidolia, which
It really is.
that is, and it's listen, pareidolia is the bane of the paranormal. No matter how you're doing, whether you're investigating, whether you're documenting, it is the worst. It was horrible back when in 2021, 2022, when the phones weren't as good as they are now. And you can even go back and watch old streams if you saved them, how pixelated backgrounds were, how groggy the sound was. And people, even now, I use iPhone 16s for the streams. Even now, people will hear things that are not being said. Why? Because they want to hear it, and it's a pareidolia, and it's horrible when it happens. So that's a great answer.
That is a great
That's a
answer.
great
And I
answer.
wasn't even expecting that answer, but that is a great.
It's a great answer.
It's
That
not
is
the
a
only
great-
reason either.
You got another reason? I
I've
was
got-
quitting while you're ahead, but go ahead.
Listen.
What's another reason? I'm
I'm
buying into
obsessed
that
with the Estes
reason.
method. I think it's truly one of the coolest experiments that's come out in a really long time in the paranormal field. You
What's
know,
another reason?
another reason is that there's a channeling aspect to it, and this is the maybe more woo-woo side of the answer, right?
We were expecting this one.
Yeah.
This is like, yeah, this feels a little right.
But let
Great way
me
to say it.
unwoo-woo. Let me unwoo-woo
Yeah,
a little
okay,
bit.
go for
that
it.
mumbo jumbo.
Undo it.
It's almost like going into a trance, right? So you've got this like constant noise. You can put yourself into a trance very easily with static sound, white noise, the spirit box, and having that noise directly in your ears with your eyes, your senses removed in terms of sight and other sound. You really, really give in to that rhythm, the like, right? So it's just constant. And then you start to kind of nod off a little bit. There's that. And so the inventors of the method have said that it's almost like you get out of your own way. And then is there a channeling aspect? Unsure, can't prove it, right? But that trance does seem to be what allows you to have more genuine conversation responses. When I do the Estes method, I do it for an hour or more. And that's not something that's easy to show on video because it gets boring at a lot of moments, right?
For sure.
But as you get to that hour-long mark, it's the remarkable stuff starts to happen. You start to get incredibly direct responses. There are times I've said things that I know I didn't hear, but that were a direct answer with accurate details. Where did I get it from? How did I get it from the spirit box if I didn't even hear it, right? So, you kind of have to look at that side of it as well.
I guess for me, first of all, I like your first answer better.
Yeah.
I just do because it makes it like that makes very clear sense because it's okay. I can see it. I think what I would also like, and it's not because I wouldn't say I come, look, this whole podcast, this whole thing that we're doing, we come from a place of believing first. I'm actually not interested in debunking. I think it's unfun. I'd rather believe it. And then, there's 110 reasons why it might not be the thing because what we're talking about ghosts, you know what I mean? So yeah, who knows what's happening? So let's come from a place of curiosity, right? I want to just stay curious about it. So what I would like to see though in an Estes method is why not do a splitter so that you're recording the sound, the sound box, the spirit box, and so you can play it back later and compare. I would like to hear the comparison
So,
of both of those things.
on that note, I have figured out how to hook up my digital recorder to the spirit box so that you can record the direct output from the spirit box and not have it be like a microphone or grainy. So it's like the actual pure channel from the spirit box.
Yeah.
And then you could sync it up with the actual answers. Have I done that experiment yet? I need to find someone to do it with me.
All right, get on it because I want to watch it. I want to see it. Get on that. That is something I will watch.
100%.
Sure, because I think that puts it. Look, when I first saw it, my belief of it was that the reason those cats did it in the hotel was for a visual because they were making a documentary and it looks fun, right? Like it's visually interesting. You got somebody in the thing, they're wrapped up, and it's just like, and then someone.
What are they doing?
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
It's spooky stuff, and it's like, the whole thing. But then I just didn't get it. But goddamn, if that pareidolia answer isn't a really great reason to try it, to cut out.
It blows your mind. When it works, it blows your mind.
But to rule out the idea that you're putting the thought into their head to hear it ahead of time. Mm-hmm. All right.
Which happens all the time.
No,
absolutely.
But literally happens all the time. That's what is. It's one of the biggest things that I battle with when live streaming my documentation is people hearing things that aren't being said, and then they have a hard time understanding. Hey, listen, you're getting this secondhand. Regardless, you're getting this secondhand. I'm getting it firsthand. I'm hearing it. And another way that translates too is like any low voices will translate to the people watching as burps. They're like, oh, why? And for about a year, I kept getting hit with the same question. John, why is that spirit burping? Why is that spirit burping? And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, wait a minute. Everyone's asking why the spirit's burping right after I just heard a low voice. Oh, that's translating to you guys as a burp instead of, leave here now, John, like something like that. And it's wild.
Well, yeah, we're getting, we get some weird, so I don't know how often you watch John. John is predominantly live. All of his stuff is live.
I do watch John.
So he's all live. And we did an episode we just dropped about Buckout Road where he goes all the time. And there was a part of the interview where he turns because he's like, I just heard a child's voice. And then we listened back and I isolated his audio, and what I heard on there was like as if you were wearing a mic and you rub it. It was like a and then he turns, like it's like a and he turns. That he's telling me I just heard a child say my name. But what we recorded was a sound. And that's real. We make a bit out of it in the episode. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't watched it yet, so it's kind of fun, but the sound is 100% real and strange. And he doesn't wear a mic. I mean, he's barely wearing a shirt. So it's like there's definitely no mic on there. It's a ripped t-shirt he's got on. So it just becomes, it's weird, right? How people, I don't know what's going on in his head to die. I think he's a witch of some kind, the way he gets what he gets, medium of I think he does have superpowers in this ghost space to get what he gets. But I do find that interesting that people hear things a different way, and that leads to a whole other art talk about frequency that we've heard, and vibration that we get into with a lot of people too, that as I'm learning about this stuff. Spooky, how do you keep it? Because you do have a very fun, lighthearted tone to your feed and to how you tell these stories, which I love. I like it. I'm a big fan of that. I like, let's take the piss out of this a little bit, let's just have some fun. How do you keep it that way? Have you ever been scared and been like, I can't use this, it's too scary, or I have to figure out how to turn it so it's not scary?
Luckily that hasn't happened to me. I guess I find the more silly you are with the spirits, the more silly they're right back. And so, when you approach it with this silliness and this lighthearted, fun, playful energy, it's hard to get something really terrifying, I find. I've had moments where I wasn't actively looking for something and something unsettling or spooky happened. And those moments, sometimes, I get a little scared. I jump, it startles me. I'm definitely not as easy to scare as I think I was, 10 years ago. John, you probably feel the same way. Like, things happen to you all the time. It gets fun.
It gets.
You're just like, awesome. Hey, you're here.
Yeah.
I get scared constantly. Do you like horror movies? Or you're like a horror movie buff?
I do.
See,
I love horror movies.
Don't.
Maybe that's what it is.
No, I mean I find them after I watch a horror movie, I'm exhausted from being like tense.
On
it's
edge.
like I just did a workout like the whole time. It's awful. And my wife will film me secretly because I grab my dog and I'm like, just holding my dog, terrified of the whole thing. And it's the absolute worst. The greatest jump scare in history is a total side point, by the way. There was a Netflix, that Netflix series. I think it was The Haunting at Hill House or something with the bent neck lady, right?
Yeah.
Is that the one about the house in Connecticut?
No, I don't know where it was.
The second one, I think.
That might have been the
That's
second one.
one.
The first one is wonderful, and there's like the bent neck lady ghost, right? Dude, it is. There is an episode in the middle. I don't even remember which one, and I wouldn't want to tell anybody to spoil it. That has the absolute greatest jump scare that I might have jumped across the room. It was so bad. If you think about it, I don't know. I don't want to spoil it for people, but fuck the people. It's in a car. It happens in a car, and it's like, it is unbelievable, and it is so unexpected.
But you love it, like you get scared of it, and you're like,
but I'm just, I can't. Then I'm tired. You know what I mean? I just don't want to deal with it. What else can I ask you here? Have you found a difference in Well, here's the question. Do you ever get out of Canada? Do you go other places? And it seems like you like historical spots. Where have you ever gotten a chance that's really different from your, your regular haunts?
I haven't, and I think that's really what I'm looking for. I think I'm starting to get to this point where I'm like, I'm too accustomed to my own hauntings. They're too predictable in a way. Sometimes I want to go somewhere I don't know anything about, that's just totally out of my comfort zone. That's kind of my next goal, I guess, for investigating, is finding somewhere that'll get me. I want to be gotten again. I want to go back to the early days.
Be careful what you wish for, Spooky. I don't know if you want to be.
Oh, I'm putting it out there.
We're talking about ghosts, man. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions in the chat? Let's jump to the chat. We are live.
Oh, cool. Chat.
I can look and see what's going on here. Let's.
One day I'll be able to read the chat.
Yeah, you would have to go into like all the different things. Yeah, you gotta get off your phone. Because I'm all over, right? I'm on live. We're simulcast in like 4 different spots, and it pulls them all into one place except for TikTok, which I'm looking at TikTok too. That's why you see my eyes looking like this. It's not that I'm ignoring you or trying to be rude. What do we got here? What movie again? I was talking about. I think it's The Haunting of Hill House. It's a Netflix series that I was talking about. Some people on the TikTok feed would love for you to go on some of John's haunts. To see because John's got some nasty ghosts. There's some
I
nasty
want them.
Ones.
Bring me to your nasty ghosts, John.
The nasty ghosts. Oh, I got some nasty ones.
They are.
And whatever your definition of nasty is, I got it. It's just the way it is here. I got some good ones too, though. Hey, good people. Don't forget about those good spirits.
Right, they're people. Who's got some questions? Anybody got questions?
Don't forget about them.
Spooky.
We got some sweetheart spirits.
I always like the nice one. I mean, obviously it's
nice.
You like to have conversations, but I like the ones that are like there to interact also.
Yeah, like Spooky. The best conversations that I have ever had have been with pleasant spirits. Now, content wise, people want more dark. They remember the dark more. They want the darker stuff, but. Listen, I've been doing this for a while, and I've seen people in the paranormal rise and fall. People get into it and then drop off. And the reason is they submerge themselves in that darkness, in that negative headspace, and it affects people, So I like best of both worlds. Give me the sweet spirit that's going to say that they don't mind me hanging out there and, going to talk to me. And then give me the spirit that's going to tell me to go fuck myself. I'm cool with it all. So.
Spooky, here's some questions. What devices do you use when you investigate? What is your go-to?
I mean, Spirit Box, obviously. I really like the REM pod. I know it's very easily debunkable, but I do my best to keep all of the potential triggers out of the environment. A good old digital recorder. I think a lot of the time, because I deal with historic heritage sites, I like the old school methods. I try not to go too much on the gear and the equipment, because I kind of worry sometimes it scares them a little bit. Like if they're not
scares who? Ghosts?
The spirits, yeah. Like if they're
which are easily scared, by the way.
From the 1800s.
Don't ask me how, but they are.
Lights and beeps and stuff like that. It might confuse them. So I'm actually working on developing a couple of my own tools as well, to try to limit strange things like beeping and lights.
Spooky, do you? These are all questions from the chat. Spooky, do you always go alone, or do you usually go with someone?
I try to go with someone, and it's not for the reason you probably imagine. It's not because I'm scared. It's actually because I don't trust myself enough to have an experience and be able to fully say that was 100% an experience I had. So having a witness is always what I want. But I do go alone sometimes. Sometimes you don't have somebody to go with you.
Have you ever had here's another one from Mama Lisa. Have you ever had a physical experience? Have you ever been touched or physical? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I've been touched. I've been touched just like a casual, tap on the shoulder, or, tugging on a jacket or pants or something like that. But one of the most amazing ones that I will never forget is I was about to fall backwards down a staircase, and literally 2 hands on my shoulders, like full 10 fingers, all hand, pushed me upright. and definitely saved me from cracking my head open.
That's the difference between Canadian ghosts and U.S. ghosts,
Very kind.
right? I mean,
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
That's a Canadian ghost.
And he was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
don't fall."
100%.
I
New
was
York
just missing
goes
the
over there and
story.
be
I
like,
see you, Stark. Yeah, it's that's definitely a Canadian ghost, right? I think for us, we would want the pratfall and the laugh,
Yeah.
you know, because if you don't get hurt, it's funny. If you get hurt, it's tragic.
I
Someone
was
falls
on
on-
tour, so I'm glad it didn't come to that because I could have traumatized like 15 people.
Yeah,
Um,
sure. That's interesting. So wait, can you tell us a little about what you think you're trying to make to catch ghosts?
Yeah. I'm essentially building a REM pod, I guess, that is going to function as a slight proximity sensor, but more so capacitive touch sensor. So if something comes in contact with an object, specifically, I want to be able to hook it up to different objects and use those objects as a trigger for the spirit. So an object that might be kind of mundane in their lives, you know, a cookware or a plate. Something that can be connected to the device in another room so that it's not interfering immediately in the room that the activity is happening in. I'm also building, similarly, with my brother who did his master's in capacitive touch and stained glass. We're building a stained glass panel that, depending on where it gets touched, it might have a small light go off because I think art might intrigue a spirit and they'll want to like touch it.
All right. So I'm sorry. It's called what kind of touch?
Capacitive touch.
Capacitive
Yeah.
touch. So basically you're doing something where it's like I'm just explaining it I'm explaining it for myself slowly.
Yeah.
So I can understand what's happening. It's got whatever sort of wires or sensors on it, so that if it feels I guess a physical touch or heat or what defines a touch from a spirit to set it off that you're trying to
So
do?
that's
Like, could a
that's
person
the big
touch it and would it go off?
Yeah, 100%. Because what
Okay.
it is it's like the you know, I'm not a sciencey person, so it's like the electrodes or whatever coming out of your fingertips. Like when you touch that, it completes the circuit. And so by completing the circuit, then the light goes off, the alarm goes off, right?
Okay.
The question is, does it work the same with a ghost? And so that's, you know, you'd have to go through all of the testing and stuff. It
Sure.
seems like maybe because the REM pod works similarly, but have to be in the testing phase to say anything more about that part.
That's
So is it
Got
going to
it.
be like two alligator clips coming out,
Yeah.
one on the object, and then where's the other? The other alligator clip is going to be on something for the spirits to touch,
Yeah,
or are
so
they?
it'll all kind of, so it's going to be a
don't
box.
get kinky, dude. Don't get kinky. where
It's
you
like
put
a
that
box
thing.
with you know, toggle switches, because why not? And then
What if the spirits get kinky? You know, you know what I'm saying?
Let's keep it clean. It's not after hours yet.
yeah, there's going to be an alligator clip going to the object itself, and then to potentially a copper plate as well, but then
Okay.
to the electronics on the inside.
Okay, cool.
Here's a good question that came in, and a good standard one for people who do what you both do. Spooky, how do you keep entities from attaching to you, or do you believe in attachment? Do you believe that can happen?
I don't believe in it the way that I think is like publicly understood, or thought of. I think that, you know, anything can want to attach to you if you especially are emitting like a really nice energy or whatever. But I also am a firm believer that, at least in my interactions, spirits are a lot more aware than we realize, and I don't think they want to go with you anywhere. Like a lot of the time, I think that they're okay with where they are at, and if they didn't want to be there, they would just leave. The actual documenting cases of attachments, there's not many. There's very, very few. It's a bit of a tricky thing to discuss because some people really believe it, and some people have had experiences where they're like, I had one. And I'm not going to ever deny somebody those experiences, but I think they're a lot more rare than people make them out to be.
Well, and when you think about it, it's like, you know, what relative to what, right? Like think about
Yeah.
relative to what? Attachment, okay. Are you talking about something actually sinking its teeth into you and not letting go, or something that might have followed you from the grocery store into, you know, a bookstore, you know? And like
Exactly.
you said, spirits could, you know, I agree with that. spirits want to go where they're going to go. They stay where they want to stay. Sometimes they get a little confused. Sometimes they unconfuse themselves. But regardless, it's literally that they do what they want, right? Essentially. So yeah, like the whole attachment thing. People are so stuck on attachments. They
And I
really
think
are.
there's,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I was
what
just
were
going
you
to say, sorry. I think
saying?
there's with attachments, it's a lot more psychological than paranormal. I think that if you go in, especially to a location where maybe there's a more aggressive spirit, and you know that, you're gonna expect to have a bad time. You're gonna think about, oh, I don't want this attached to me. You're gonna get scared. You're gonna get in your head. Things are gonna happen. You're gonna go, oh my gosh, it's the attachment. But at what point did you actually prove that it was? You know, like
Right.
are you looking into that at all? Are you trying to figure out what is happening, or are you just jumping to that conclusion because you know you were in a scary spot?
And that goes back to what we, kind of what we started about, or we mentioned when we started. Like, are you manifesting? Are you the architect of your own nightmare in a weird way? Right? I mean, is it that?
100%.
Are you hearing yourself? Fucking pareidolia for the goddamn Estes method.
I'm so glad to have been part of this moment, this like mind
Now,
opening.
what's really interesting about like the whole like middleman thing, and Gary, like why would somebody do that? And pareidolia being a great answer for that. Um, in my documentation, I never do it. I stay away from the method because I try to do documentation that everybody can see and hear, regardless if they're seeing and hearing wrong. It's still part of the data coming in, right? And let's be real. In 2025, in this social media age that we are in, because we are in peak social media age now. There are many people out there that, Estes, blah blah blah. They do they get everything going, and what they are saying is just complete horseshit. And a lot of people don't like to say it, but it's the truth. Now, where you're coming from, you're a shining example of, if you're going to do the method, do it right. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
want it.
one of
I
the
expect to see that recording. I want to see you do that.
absolutely 100%.
I want to see that split because that's
Oh,
fun.
I'm so intrigued. I'm so intrigued because I want to see at what point is it something that actually was heard? Or like, was it your brain filling in a gap? Was it you completing a word that came through only half a word? I from a investigation perspective, I want to see that difference.
So do I. I'm fast. Now it's like, now I'm into it. Now I
Yeah.
got to try it. God damn it.
That's the other thing about the method. I think that it's hard to watch someone do it and fully believe, especially on social media. Like it could totally be scripted. You have no idea. Trying it yourself changes everything. When you have that session where you're like, I don't even remember what I was saying, and it was half accurate, or more than half accurate,
Right.
those are the incredible sessions that make you wonder what's happening.
Spooky, this has been incredibly fun. I am
So
so
much
glad
fun.
you agreed to
Yeah.
come on. Where
Thanks
do
for
people
having me.
find you? Let's make sure we tell the good people where to find you. Is it
Yeah, tell the good people.
spooky.scoundrel?
Spooky.Scoundrel, TikTok, and YouTube.
Right there. I just put it up on the board. Hopefully you guys can see it. Spooky.scoundrel. Oh, wait, it's a little too small here for this. Let me just shrink this a little so the folks can see the name. I'll put it up again for everybody who didn't catch it the first time. There you go. At spooky.scoundrel on TikTok, Instagram.
Not Instagram.
Not Instagram.
YouTube.
Sorry,
I made that up.
YouTube. You
On
made it up.
YouTube, TikTok, spooky.scoundrel.
Damn
And it's
audio
really fun.
paranoia.
Spooky's got it. Yeah, right. Yeah, I just made that up. Spooky's got a great feed. They're very
Thank
fun
you.
stories, and they have a great way of telling those stories. So I encourage you all to follow Spooky Scoundrel because it was great. And we thank you so much. This was a real pleasure.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome having
Of
you.
course. Just leave your browser on for a minute until it says fully uploaded as we say goodbye to you, and then
Sure.
we're gonna brag about you and talk about you a little more behind your back while you're away. And I thank you so much. It was a real pleasure. It really
All right.
was.
It was great. If you ever want to chat again, even off cameras, I can't get enough talking about ghosts.
We love it. Welcome.
Cool.
Awesome.
Awesome. Have
We'll
a great
see ya.
night. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right.
They gave you a great answer.
That was a great answer, dude.
That was a great answer. They gave you a great answer.
I mean,
They gave you a
I
good
saw
one.
a little. I saw it in your face too.
Yeah,
that was a good answer.
Because that's the answer.
Because you know what? You know what the worst
Like,
part
that
about
is
how
the
great. You
answer.
want to know the worst part about how great that answer is?
Yeah.
Is that the two dicks like us have been talking about it for so long, and we didn't think of that as a possible answer. We never said it out loud. But it's like, that's, of course, that makes total sense. Like, you get rid of the bias that puts in your head of what you want to hear.
The only thing is, what you're doing is you're trading that biased for the wait a minute, or is that person full of shit?
Well,
right?
that's the thing. Well, we don't know, right? You have to. But
That's
let's
the only
assume.
thing.
Okay,
It's got to be someone you trust.
you trust, right? You have to go at it and think.
Got to be somebody. you
Come at it
trust.
from a place of belief, right? If you come at it from a
Yeah.
place of belief, and you let's assume everyone's being on the up and up, then that's why you're doing it right. But if it's just like somebody yelling out words, what can I do? What can I do? I can't say if they're lying or not. I don't know how to answer that. If they're faking it, so it goes. But that was a great answer.
Yeah.
Spooky Scoundrel, everybody, wonderful.
Well,
Guys, today is Thursday, September 4th. On Tuesday, September 9th, we have our interview with Amy Belaski from the Belaski Experience. Is that right? Am I saying that right? Is it the Belaski Method or the Belaski Experience? Hold on.
I thought it was the Blasky's experience.
Yes, the Belaski Experience. Amy Belaski, she is one of the most popular and highly rated social media psychic mediums out there. She's absolutely wonderful, and her perspective on spirits and communicating with spirits using and the idea of
Voxy approved.
Voxy approved, frequency and vibration. Again, going back to this hermetic principles of vibration, this Kabbalion sort of belief, which I don't know if she even recognized or follows. I think it's just a natural frequency for her, because when I brought it up, she sounded like she had never read about it.
No.
But it's still, which sort of makes it feel even more legit, right? When someone's doing something that they didn't know was a thing or didn't realize was
Yeah,
based
they're doing it just naturally.
just naturally. She's wonderful, and she has had 4 near-death experiences. She has a slew of medical issues that have strengthened her connection to spirit. It's a whole different way to look at things. She's a wonderful guest. She's a big personality online. I mean, you'll find her on TikTok at the Belaski. I mean, she's got like almost 3.5 million followers. I mean, she's huge. And we are very lucky to have her. We are very lucky to have Spooky Scoundrel today. We have a lot of good guests coming up. We've got, who are some of the others? Oh, after Belaski, we're going to a little week of past life regression. I know that was a lot for people. They really wanted us to get into that, and I get into that. That's a whole other mind F. That's like a whole other thing, past life regression. And then I got the executive producer of one of the Ghost Adventure shows, House Calls, is going to be on. If you guys like those ghost shows, it talks about, a little more behind the scenes on that stuff.
Yeah, which is awesome.
And we've got a couple more executive producers coming on too, who've produced some of your favorite shows, from Skinwalker Ranch to, he was even a producer on Ghost Hunters, the first season, the original. So
yeah, and that's just so wild, because it's a window, it's a sight and knowledge that normally isn't presented in the paranormal. We're gonna hear from the people that are essentially producing the content.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
There's so much love-hate of that content, right? Because it's fake, it's TV, it's fake, blah blah blah.
Yeah. It's a great dive, guys. I'm telling you,
fun.
It's awesome.
So we got a lot of good stuff coming up.
Yeah, a lot.
Keep listening, keep watching. what else can I tell you, good people? Stay curious, for Christ's sake. We have a good thing going here, and we want you to keep watching, and we want you to share it. Remember, like, subscribe, share. Here on TikTok, on YT. If you're watching on Santa Paranormal, go to Splintered Spirits. Please give us, subscribe to our channel. We are very close to hitting our
1,000.
our first goal of 1,000 subs, and it's free to do.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got for us today, man.
Awesome.
Do you have anything you want
Been
to
a
tell
good
the
one.
people?
No, nothing at all, other than the fact that you guys are awesome. Stay curious, and make sure you guys catch up when you can. A lot of episodes, a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, man, we're having a lot of fun, and we're gonna try to close out the year. Oh, and if you haven't noticed, on the weeks that we don't drop a brand new episode, we've been going back and dropping those episodes that never had video with video.
With video.
Bigger, longer, less cut. There's still some edits in it. There's still some edits in it, but they are like, I dropped the full interview with Lloyd. We're about to drop the episode 1, which is twice as long. My initial interview with John. I'm going to drop the full reading that Kathy gave me from episode 6. So there's a lot of fun, some backstory and some things now that we're hitting. So
Cool.
Check it out, keep following. But if you're not subscribed, you're not gonna see these announcements and these drops. So that's it, John. This is a good one.
Gary, awesome, man. Everybody, thank you.
Thanks so much, folks.